Hello, hello, hello. This is Willie Cartwright with from Save to Sane, and with my wonderful, wonderful co-host, or Taisha. Hello, Taisha. Say hello, Taisha.
Hey, how are you? Greetings, everyone.
I'm so happy to have her with me. You guys know how we start off. First of all, it's been a couple of weeks, so I am happy to be back. It's been a couple of weeks, so glad to be back. But I always start off by saying thank you to Taisha for everything that she has done and is still doing, and for her continuing support of us here. So I appreciate that, and then I always give a shout out to my wife, Salima. Thank you for everything that you do and that you are doing and have done. And so we have a couple of people to say hey to Sharon. Sharon is on with us. Hey, Sharon in Arizona.
Hi, Mama.
I hope it's not too hot out there. I know you guys got some weather. I know you. So it's that's today was it's kind of hot here today in Atlanta, but it's been raining. So I'm glad to see the
Oh,
sun
it's
out here.
raining up there. Yeah, it's
It's
bright
been
and
raining.
sunny down here, and
It's sunny now. It's sunny right now.
it's sunny here, and it was like the heat index was like gonna take us to 98 today. So we
Yeah.
haven't experienced a cool down just yet.
So we're gonna get it right into it. I've been gone a couple of weeks. So I'm going to make some announcement toward the end, as to rescheduling and what we're going to be doing here on the channel. I want to wait till more people are on, so I don't have to repeat it again. But it's important with the rescheduling, all because of school. So everything has been really good. Today, Sharon says 100 degrees in the shade.
Ooh.
Yeah, that sounds like Arizona.
That's that dry heat too.
Yeah, I'm checking. Tasia, do you hear it sounds like I hear an echo. Do you hear an echo whenever I
Not on
speak?
my side, no.
Okay, all right. Well, I can just deal with it. I hear a slight echo, but that's good. So today, people, we want to talk about hell, the biblical hell. And the reason why I chose this topic is because it is one of the things that hold Christians in place, whether it's fear, whether it's ignorance, and so it is also one of the foundational pieces of Christianity. And so I wanted to address it because for me, when I left religion, in particular Christianity,
Mhm.
it was one of the hurdles that I had to get over, because through the indoctrination of Christianity,
You're echoed. Sharon just said it as well.
is an echo. I don't know what to do about the echo.
Yeah, I don't hear it on my side. I just moved my speakers back from my microphone just in case you
Let me
heard
see.
yourself, but I don't hear it.
Okay, Sharon, do you still? I hear it, so I know Sharon hear it.
Okay.
Not sure what's going on. I haven't never had an echo before.
Mm-mm. It's
Hmm.
the devil.
See, it's the devil. Is it bad, Sharon? Steven says it's echoing for him too.
Let me try something. I'm going to mute myself and let us know if it's still happening before I mute myself. So I'm muted. Let's see.
Okay. Uh, Hello, Steven from Tennessee. I don't hear it, the echo on my end anymore. Sharon or Steven, do you guys hear the echo? Christy says she doesn't hear it. Okay. Well, we've had both of us on before and we didn't have an echo,
I'm
Taisha.
going
So
to
I don't
just
know.
keep myself muted when I'm not talking and see if that helps. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll get back. Let me know. Not bad. No, Sharon doesn't hear it again. Okay, great. We're good now. No echo. So let me get back to what I was saying. So the reason why I chose hell, again, because it's foundational, but it was for me, it was one of the hurdles that I had to get over. And remember, this channel is really about helping people, those of us who have questions about our faith, those of us who are coming out of our faith, in particular Christianity, because that's my history. One of the things that we all have to get over is the fear of hell, because that is drilled into us from day one, from the very, very, very beginning. And so I wanted to address that issue because I've done a lot of research over the years related to hell and understanding the actual origins of hell. And for many people, that may be the last thing that's keeping you, binded to this faith, to this religion, is the fear of going to hell. And that's understandable. If you if you've seen any of the forums, I mean, I've been on all of these forums, and the people who have left their religion, especially when you get to the ones who've been in these cults, these real cults. One of the things that's used to hold them in place is that fear of hell and the things that's taught to them about hell. And not only that, but when those things are taught to us. So we're 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. We're really young individuals, and we're being told about this burning place, the gnashing of you can't get any water, is hot, is eternal. You're burning in fire. Your flesh is burning, but you can't die. People are screaming out, and we have this visual of what hell is, and we're told about this visual. That is traumatic to young people, and many of us carry this trauma into our adulthood. And so when we're reflecting on our faith and we make the decision to leave, this is one of the things that hold us there, that keeps us from going, because we don't want to go to hell. And again, that's understandable if hell was real. But a lot of times we're not sure that it's real. We don't know that if it's not real. So I wanted to just talk about that and have the family, this group here, the family, I call it our family here, Taisha and all of you, just kind of talk about that, because I think this is something that can help a lot of people when we talk about hell and the origins of hell. And I'm gonna let Taisha chime in as well with this.
You know what? You made me think about something. Like the image we have of hell in our minds, it comes from an artist's depiction. Because no one has brought back an invoice or a receipt or a travel voucher that hell exists. And it made sense. I was listening to a lecture by the great Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of his lectures, I think it was religion versus spirituality, and he put hell in the most simplest form. It's like, okay, if you don't have any heat in the wintertime, you cold as hell. If you got no money, you broke as hell. If you're ill, you're sick as hell, And I started saying, I've experienced hell. I've been to hell and back because, I've been to some really terrible places that should have broken me. But I'm like, man, that is hell. Like, I don't tell people to go to hell. I tell them to go to Washington State, because that was pure hell on earth.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the this whole thing of hell, and once you leave religion or you talk bad about God and you reject God, you're going to hell. It's really a really messed up mind F word to keep you tied. Like, let's say, for instance, after this video, I get in my car and I go drive the street and I'm in a fender bender. And in my mind, I can go back to, oh my gosh, I didn't go to church this past Sunday. This is God trying to bring me back to him. You start thinking, it's this schizophrenic attitude, where it's like there's no place that's gonna burn you. Okay. Like when you die, you're cremated, you're put in the ground, your soul can't burn. It's impossible. So once you lose your fear of hell, it goes right along with losing that notion that there's a man named Santa Claus and his wife and some elves and reindeer at the North Pole. Okay. You just see it for being silly talk and you dismiss it. And that's where the true mental freedom, and you become saved. You go from saved to sane because you're thinking rationally.
That is exactly it. Let me say a couple of hellos to people. Stephen, appreciate you being on. We say hey to Stephen. Neo X, you guys, this is Neo X is she's my new friend. We ought to talk about supporting each other, and I always tell you guys to support Taisha and the work that she's doing on her channel. I'm gonna say the same thing about Neo X. Support this sister. Go to her channel. She is fire on her channel. Go to her channel. Please support her as well. More conversations like this. So I just wanted to say that while we're doing it, while we, while I say hi to her.
And you just did
Don,
an interview with Neo X as well that I'm still making my way through all 4 hours and 39 minutes. So
it
yes,
was,
go
yeah, it
subscribe
was,
and watch that.
yeah, it was. I know someone was on, a wonderful guy, brother Eli, I think was on before I got on, but just the part that I was on, it is 3+ hours, I think. So you guys, if you got that 3+ hours, but there's some good stuff. It is some really good
Good
stuff.
stuff.
Neo does an excellent job. So absolutely. Don, what's going on, Don? Glad to have you with us. Let's see. Stephen said, I never had even the slightest fear of hell when I was a kid. It made no sense at all. Stephen, you were way ahead of the game, way ahead of the game, and kudos to you, brother. Because I guess for me, all this stuff is really about how seriously I took it. So I knew the story of hell and I knew the story of heaven, but something inside of me just kept saying, it's really not a big thing for you to worry about. But in my deconversion from Christianity, that was one of the things that that was a hurdle that I had to clear just to make sure. And so what I did was I started doing research. I started researching the origins of hell, where the word came from, where we got the word. And it's a lot of information out there about it. You guys can go research. There's a ton of books. But generally speaking, just kind of summarize all of this, hell is not in any of the older original, what would be original copies that we have of the Bible, the Old Testament. Hell is not in there. There are several words that was used for hell. Actually, the word hell, Hel, is actually a German word and is actually part of German mythology where we get that from. But there's words. I can't. What is it? Slipping my mind. Um, Sheol. Sheol is one of the words that people talk about all the time, which was basically a place in the Old Testament outside of Jerusalem that they burned trash. And then Gehenna is another word which I think meant graveyard. And then there's a couple of other words that's used. But the point of the matter is that the images that we see of a burning hell, you spend an eternity in, is not a real place. It is mythology. It is not real by any stretch of the imagination. Again, do your research, understand where the word came from, understand its origins, understand that it was not part of the original Old Testament Bible and it was added at a later period. And even the images that we have, some of that people believe came from the story Dante's Inferno, where we get the images of hell. But this is extremely important in this process of deconverting, even in the process of questioning, because again, connect the dots. And this is about critical thinking. It is not about what you shouldn't be this or you shouldn't be that. It's about how did I arrive at the position that I am, where I am now, whether that's a believer or non-believer. And we hope, and the purpose of this channel, one of the purpose of this channel is that to help you do critical thinking along the process. So if hell is not real, right? Is heaven real? And if hell is not real and heaven is not real, then what about this God thing, right? At least the Abrahamic God, at least what we see from the Bible. Wouldn't that make sense? What about Jesus and the resurrection? If heaven is not real, then where did Jesus go if he was resurrected? So I saw this because this is part of critical thought and critical thinking and how you arrive at a certain position with this. And so we talk about hell and whether or not hell is real or not. And Taisha, anytime you want to join in, you want to chime in, just join in. But
Will do.
go ahead. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, but I think what's more important than whether or not hell is real. I mean, I actually that's the most important thing to me. But I think what's equally important is the ramifications and the damage that's done to us by believing in this hell. So we have to understand that the purpose of having this hell out there is simply to control us, control our actions, and cause us to act a certain way. Those who are in control or want us to act a certain way, that's why this whole hell concept was created, because they wanted us to do certain things and act a certain way accordingly to what they felt would be right. So what better way than to tell people or threaten people with eternal damnation of their soul? Taisha mentioned earlier, how can a soul burn? How can a soul feel pain? So again, this is logical stuff that people never think about. If it's your soul, your flesh is going to be gone. We know that that's scientific, biological. When you die, your flesh is gone at some point, right? So that leaves the soul. So how can a soul feel pain? Is it? Can anybody answer that question?
It's just a bunch of stupid stuff because when you ask the question, so if hell isn't real, heaven isn't real. And I don't know about many, but I'm from Ohio and I hate the snow. And when I see, pictures of heaven and clouds and it's white everywhere, it makes me depressed because I hate snow. And usually the ones who tell us that we're going to hell and they're going to heaven. I'm like, hold on. If all of y'all that get on my nerves is going to heaven, then send me to hell. I don't want to be around y'all. And it like these little stories they make up around it about okay, you'll go to heaven where there's milk and honey. Okay, so a bunch of us is lactose intolerant. I don't really consume dairy all like that. And for there to be honey in heaven, there has to be bees. So make it make sense. I'll see any trees in heaven or nothing like that. So it's just stupid stuff for control. And I really think I hope I can say this in a way that it makes sense. I was watching an interview with brother Jeremiah Kamara recently, and he was being interviewed by a sister. I think it's like women atheists or something like that. And
Mhm.
it's a really good video. It's a recent video as well. And she said black people hate everything about slavery but Christianity. And I'm like, oh, I need that on a t-shirt. And how I see how religion and the Bible and Christianity was used on us here. This was a time before there was surveillance cameras. Now we have surveillance technology can track our locations, record our messages. Everything we do is under surveillance. Well, during slavery, the overseer couldn't be everywhere. The slave master couldn't be everywhere at once. So what did they have? The original big brother, which is this God in this system. So they had to trust people that they were raping, abusing, had stolen, mistreating to make their food, care for their babies, do all this stuff. So how did they keep them under control with the mind? And that's what is still going on today. So you may not do it in front of they couldn't do it in front of a camera, but God is always watching, and that's the way they kept us in check.
Yep, yep. So, really quick before I go into another part, let me say, Don, I appreciate it so much. Appreciate the support. You picked up your book today. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know. Give me feedback. Thank you, NeoX, for introducing Don to this channel here. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the love. Stephen had a funny, a funny statement. He said, Thea's once Thea's once told him that they were preparing a special place in hell for him. He said, "Well, yeah, and they damn well better have it right this time."
Heck
Listen,
yeah.
based on what I've seen, I want to be in hell with my people. The people that's going to heaven, I don't like a lot of them anyway right now, right? So I'd rather be, but but seriously, I've always made this analogy. Based on Christianity and my understanding of Christianity, a slave master that owned slaves, beat and killed people, spent all his life doing horrible things, find out that he has cancer and has 30 days to live, and earnestly and honestly start to believe in Jesus and the resurrection. He may have already been a Christian because most of them were, right? So he already believed, but let's just say that he now on his deathbed, he's honest about it. He's like, yeah, I believe in Jesus. Jesus is my savior. That individual, according to theology, Christian theology that I learned, ends up in heaven with the slaves that he beat and killed and mistreated if they were Christians. But
Yep.
yet, somebody like Mother Teresa, because she's not a Christian, no matter all the great things she did, won't be in heaven. My wife, who is the nicest and the most wonderful person I know, because she denounced Christianity around the same time I did and no longer follows it. She's the sweetest person. I mean, won't harm her, love everyone, see the good in everyone. So if my wife is going to be in hell, well, that's the damn place I want to be because I want to be with her, right? So I don't get
Exactly.
this.
Exactly.
And so also, if hell is a place that you're supposed to be happy and no issues and everything is wonderful, my mother, who was devout before she passed, loves me unconditionally. But how can she be happy if I'm in hell? Right? So that doesn't make any sense. And then, kind of from a funny standpoint, Taisha mentioned the whole milk and honey. That's what they used to tell us. It's going to be milk and honey, streets paved with gold. Well, guess what? Black people are genetically lactose intolerant, most of us. So I guess we're going to be drinking water, right? In heaven. But I said all that to say is that
I don't
we
see no
need to,
oceans in
exactly.
heaven. I don't see no oceans. I don't see no oysters for the pearly gates. I don't see any of that. So
Yeah. I said, kind of tongue in cheek, but in reality, we need to understand where this stuff comes from and the purpose of this stuff. And I think I told you guys. So I'm in school working on a master's in religious studies. So I mention that because you guys are going to benefit from some of the stuff, more of the stuff that I'm learning. And recently, this past week, we started last week, but one of the professors that I have has us reading, and we kind of finished it. It's a book called Heathen, right? And so in this book, and this is related to what we're talking about today, in this book, the author, who is a Chinese lady, I think, she traces back the word heathen, which was a word that was used by Christians, white European Christians, to distinguish everyone who were non-white Christians, right? But what she talked about in the book is how it was more nefarious than what we really thought. That the only purpose of this really was to separate us out, the black and brown people, and talk about how uncivilized they thought we were, and how we carried disease, and everything else. So everything that we did was a reason for them to call us heathen. Was also an excuse for them to mistreat us. And we talk about this a lot of times in slavery. They use religion and us being unsaved as a reason why, this is their mission. They came to Africa to civilize and to save the uncivilized savages, so to speak, right? Heathen was a word that was used first, and then they kind of replaced it with savages and some of the other words, whatever. But so I said that to say that it is so much more. And I have to be careful when I read this stuff and have these discussions in my class, not to get even more angry, because it's all connected, right? And our professor is like, the religion is one thing, but this really was about race. It really was about marginalizing non-white people. And the message that I want to give to you guys today is that our history of being black people uh, in this country. I'll tell you. I'll give you the full name of the book in just a second, Taisha. Um, our history of being Christian in this country, we need to really, really check that. We need to really take a look at where that stemmed from, the purpose behind it, everything that went into it. We got a segment of our people that believe that it was necessary, and that slavery was somehow acceptable because it got us to the point of being saved. That is the most asinine and craziest thing I ever heard in our life. What we went through as a community of people, so that we could say, well, we're saved. It is insane. And the more of this stuff that I read and learn, it's just like it's like you pulling back the onions, and you're like, I already thought it was horrible, right? I thought it was bad. It's worse than what we thought. It is these people planned this stuff way before it came to light. This was a organized and constructed plan, because of the racism, and they just use religion as a way to fake it, or it was a facade, the religion, and we fell right into it. We fell right
right.
into it. So yeah, sometimes teacher, go ahead.
Right. It was something, if I remember this correctly, because I went to a Catholic university, and I thought this is gonna be easy because God, got my Bible, I'm a Bible thumper, I know the Lord, but oh my gosh, I failed. But it was something, I think it was this class I took on Native American history, if I remember this
Mm,
correctly.
mm,
And it started with the movement of the Europeans. And in certain churches you will see this banner, and it will have a crown and a cross in the middle of it, and it will
Hmm.
say in hoc signo vinces, or vices, if I'm pronounced correctly, I forgot. But translate that loosely is, in this sign we shall conquer. And it was all about conquering people that they saw that was beneath them. And I'm happy
Hmm.
that you mentioned the word heathen. And the other names. Did I put down heaven? No, that says heathen. I'm reading other comment. I'm like, hold on. But when you look at the word heathen, and why I reject calling myself these terms, a year or two ago, when lockdown was happening and TikTok was kind of blowing up because everybody was stuck in the house, and I saw females, even them having their daughters and little babies dance to the Savage song. And I'm like, why are you calling yourself a savage? This is a disgusting term for yourself. Have you looked it
Hmm.
up? Like, this is not cute. And I'm like,
Hmm.
the savages are those. Look at what's going on, and look what has been going on. Those are the savages. Why are you trying to identify with them? And when it comes to your name and stuff like that, for one to go and attack and try to, take out and exterminate an entire group of people, they don't see them as people anymore. They
Hmm.
see them as less than that. And that's where you get the N word. That's where you get, all kinds of derogatory terms. So once you accept that and start calling yourself that, versus the name you have, which means honor and, brings pride to yourself and your people, you're going to get conquered and, extinct. But yeah, that's what it is. Hell and heathen and devil and savage and stuff like that. Yes, that's what was used so that they can continue conquering in the name of that sign. And I'm done with that.
Yeah. Henry, hello to you, Henry. Appreciate you being on. Eric, how you doing, man? Good to see. Eric, hopefully you got your book. If not, you will be getting it really soon. Appreciate you joining us, Eric. Really appreciate it. Me and Eric had a conversation on the phone. Eric reached out to me and we talked for a while. We had a long conversation. So Eric is a good guy in my book.
Good, good.
So that's my man. So good. Glad to have you, Eric. Appreciate it. Yeah, but we so again, so let me give you the name of the book is Heathen Religion and Race in American History. And so again, it's confirmation about all the stuff that we know in this group. I mean, preaching to the choir, but the things that we know in this group here. But it goes so much deeper than what it is. And the reason why it's relevant to the conversation today is because again, the more and more we find out about this religion, we find out that this it was used for this and it was used for that, and hell is not real and heaven is not real. I have conversations with believers, and when I start pointing this stuff out, one of the things they say is, well, anything can be used for bad. And I said, well, the problem with what you're saying is that we're talking about Bible and Scripture and a faith that is supposedly inspired by all powerful God. And if God can specifically say, don't eat shrimp, or specifically say something as benign as don't wear mixed fabrics or whatever, then he certainly could have said, don't own another human being, right? So as I start to peel back the layers on this, and I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, well, if this is not true, and this is not true, and this God, supposedly all powerful, all knowing, knew that these things in the Bible were going to be used in a way that he did not intend for them to be used, or he or she, whatever, wasn't intended for these things to be used, then why didn't this God do something? Why didn't this God step in? Why didn't this God make a statement? Why didn't this God fix it so that we couldn't use this stuff the way it wasn't meant to be used? Nothing to do with free will, whatever. There was 10 commandments. The first 5 commandments are about him. So it's narcissistic, right?
Right.
So
Right.
if you got 10 commandments and one of your commandments is not, you can't own another human being, then something is wrong. Something is wrong. So we have to look at all this stuff again. Again, this is about critical analysis and thinking critically about what we believe and why we believe it. If the only reason why you're still a believer is your fear of hell, then I'm here to tell you today that you can let that go. because hell does not exist. The biblical hell does not exist. So cross that off your list and find another reason. Eventually we're going to get to all those reasons to absolutely help you with that. Any comments that people have, what's it? Smash the like button and subscribe. Appreciate it. Thank you, Don. Any comments that we have, anybody in the chat have about hell or whatever, or any of your experiences?
And
Eric
that's so
said,
important that you said, like, that last string that keeps you attached to religion and your faith is that fear of hell. And I'm happy that you picked this topic, because for many, that's that fear, like, that keeps you stuck. Or when you mention somebody else, that's the first thing. Your soul, you're gonna burn. I don't want you to burn. I'm like, I ain't burning. I'm all right. Like, I got smoke detectors and I know something's hot to walk away from it. But yeah, I'm so happy for this. So thank you.
yeah. So if we, again, it's about us reading, and again, I think I mentioned to this group here, the two groups that know the least about their Bible or the least about their faith is Hispanic Catholics, number two, but number one is African American Christians, because we refuse to read anything outside of the Bible.
Cherry picking.
Cherry picking, right? And historically, if you understand hell, if you go all the way back further enough, the concept, there's a similar concept in Egyptian history, right? It's called duet, I believe, and that goes all the way into the afterlife and all of that. And so we know historically that religions and faiths borrow, and I'll use the word borrow loosely, borrowed from other faith and religions. Understand that
Plagiarize.
yeah, and understand that Egyptian mythology is a lot older than Christianity, and there's other faiths or belief systems that are a lot older. So we understand that. Eric said the JWs they used to work with really opened his eyes to hell, the concept, and how there is none. Can't front on that. Also, there are videos out there from Catholic priests admitting that there is no hell, that there is no biblical hell. If you Google it, you go on YouTube, there are Catholic priests that are out there admitting it. So absolutely. Henry said, "You are absolutely right about hell. It doesn't exist. How can we worship an entity who is going? Let's move. Okay, how can we worship an entity who is going to burn billions of his own creation forever?" That was the next topic I was about to get into. Henry, appreciate it so much. You are so on point. I heard a guy that I listened to a lot. His name is Matthew Donahue. Donahue. I forgot. I can't pronounce his last name. I can't remember. He's a former minister, or was going to be a minister. He has it's called the atheist experience, and he's on YouTube. But he goes in. This guy is he goes in, and he cuts people out the whole 9 yards. But anyway, one of the things that he says is that even if God came down, and Jesus came down and proved to be who he was, this guy said, I still wouldn't worship him because he's an immoral God. So what Henry said makes a lot of sense. It's like, how can you create that something flawed, knowing that thing would do what you don't want it to do, but yet punish it for life? It's like me having a child, knowing the child is going to cry, but getting mad because the child is crying, and I condemn the child to hell for eternity. It makes no sense. Right. So what kind of God would you serve? That's not unconditional love. And again, I always use this analogy with the believers that I have discussion with. I said, name me a sane parent. I'm not saying insane parent, a sane parent that would condemn their child to hell. Whatever. Your child could do, your child could kill 40 people. And if you had the power to condemn that child to hell forever, eternity, most parents, I'm willing to say almost every sane parent wouldn't do it, because it's unconditional love. So why would a God who's all powerful, has everything, get mad with you because you refuse to acknowledge him as your savior? That's all you did. You just refused to acknowledge him as your savior. And now you are condemned to eternal hell. So it makes no sense whatsoever. I appreciate that, Henry. Let's see. Here also said these people will burn are his own children. He wanted them to be born. Are you back, Taisha? Let's see. Can I
Digitizing
get you?
on my side, so I
Oh,
went ahead
okay.
and just logged off to make sure it was okay.
Okay, so you're back. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Stephen Delahunty. That's him. And I should know it. I listen to him all the time. So yeah, his name is Matthew Delahunty. Let's see, Wesley. Hey, Wesley, how you doing, Wesley? Man, appreciate it. Religion is sustained by two factors: fear and guilt. Yeah, we always say that. Absolutely. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Creflo Dollar, the only truth this man has ever uttered. Uh,
Reverend,
he's
get your
probably right.
dollars.
Reverend Creflo Dollar. I'm not even gonna get Taisha started about Reverend Creflo Dollar, but that might be another topic, another day. Eric said, "Yeah, he is rough." Dylan, yeah, he is. Matthew Dillahunty, the ACA, he's in Austin. Absolutely, you are right, Wesley. You are definitely on point. You're right, Wesley. And so again, a purpose of what we're doing, if we can eliminate that fear and that guilt as an obstacle for you. I'm not saying even converting. I mean even deconverting. I'm saying just eliminate that fear and guilt so that you can freely do your research, think critically, and ask questions of your faith and your religion, and try to understand how you got to where you are. And if you decide that, listen, this is not for me, I'm only here because I was indoctrinated into it. I had that fear of going to hell. I didn't want to disappoint my family. I didn't want to disappoint my friends. Whatever it is, you decide none of that is for you, then all is well. All is well. Welcome to our world. And we're living pretty good over here. If you decide that, listen, I still need this faith, this belief system because it gives me something that I can't find somewhere else. That's fine and well as also. But only thing we ask is that you get to that point earnestly and honestly through critical analysis, and that's what this channel is about. We ask the hard questions. We get the comments, and we challenge those who say, who want to remain with the status quo. But for those of you, as we said before, this whole hell thing, don't listen to me. Don't listen to Taisha. Don't listen to the people that's making the comments. Do the research yourself. And we are fearful of doing the research because it's like pulling a thread. If you do the research and you find that hell is not real, then guess what? You're gonna keep pulling the thread, and you're gonna discover something else that you was taught about this faith is not real. And you're gonna discover something else. You're gonna discover something else, and finally you're gonna get to the top. And what's at the top is okay. Wait a minute. This whole God concept, this Abrahamic God concept, is that real? We've already discussed in previous videos about the major events and characters in the Bible not being real. There being no archaeological evidence for all of those characters. So what we've done on this channel is that we've told you, we've presented facts and evidence for you to understand that from an archaeological standpoint, a scientific standpoint, most of the major characters and events in the Bible are not real. That is undisputed. I've been waiting for somebody, a believer, to bring me archaeological scientific evidence of the things that I say that are not real being real. That has never happened. So today we are getting over the hurdle of this hell, this thing that we've been made to fear, as to why I got to do right, I got to act right because I don't want to spend hell, I don't want to spend eternity in hell. Well, we're telling you today that hell is not real. We're telling you to go do the research, find it, even within. Here's the thing: you can do the research with biblical scholars. You can do the research within Christianity. If you go back further and understand the history of the Bible, the Old Testament, it will tell you that hell is not real. So we're not even talking about outside non-biblical sources. We're talking about biblical sources now that's going to tell you that the hell that you were made to believe, that you were taught to believe, the biblical hell, the New Testament hell, as we should say, the King James version of hell before they took it out. We're telling you that does not exist. That is mythology. That is not real. And you can check that. So I would encourage you, and those of you who don't believe us, I would challenge you to do that research. Right? Let's see what other Thais, you got some comments.
No, I'm just absorbing everything, and I'm just happy, to hear a lot of stuff that I had confirming it. And that's one thing that's going to happen. Buyer beware, or reader beware, from the Goosebumps novel. It's like, once you find out these truths, and you're like, wow, and you see like other grown people posting nonsense like I see on Facebook all the time. You're going to want to try to approach them and have a conversation with them. I challenge you not to. Just know that you have a truth that you have researched that you can back up, and you're not just like, well, the Bible says it's true, I'm going off that, and that's just what I believe. You can actually back it up and stand on your own from there. But unless you're how Brother Willie is, and go toe to toe with him, it's a really rewarding feeling, and it's going to start to show in your everyday actions and your behavior. It's a huge burden lifted off of you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying drink the Kool-Aid, but once you lose that monkey on your back, which is burning in hell, and God's going to come and get you and all this other stuff, you're like, wow, I can really enjoy life, and it is so peaceful. But you'll have that feeling of sadness for those who are still caught up in the matrix.
Yep, yep. Absolutely, Tice. Appreciate it. Let me get something to the comments. Beige Price, what's going on? Glad to have you. Hello, hello. Henry M said, critical thinking is so lacking in our community. Sounds like a topic for a book for our community. How can we teach critical thinking the AA way? Yeah, but you're gonna put it in a book, so they still won't. We still won't read it. You probably got to make it a movie or a musical, or put it in a song, right? But yeah, so yeah. Let's see. Eric, my man Eric said, when I first read Christianity in Crisis of Hank, who's that? Hank Hanegraaff back in '04, it really opened my eyes to Dollar Price White, Jakes, and, and the Word of Faith movement. Yeah, I've been leery of all of them for a long time. I actually I attended Jake's church. I was out in Dallas. This was a long time ago, about 25 years ago, and I attended his church. I was out in Dallas, and at that time I thought he was all right. I thought he was, he was more of a, he was becoming more of a motivational speaker, kind of like Joel Osteen. That's kind of category I put Joel Osteen in, kind of more of a motivational speaker. Yeah, but you have to question the source again. I use it a lot. Think about this. I'm a married man, happily married man. If I tell you that marriage is wonderful and awesome and it's the greatest thing in the world, it's the best thing for you to do, but every time you see me, I'm flirting with other women. I'm trying to get other women's phone numbers or whatever. That's going to cause you not only to question me, but it should cause you to question maybe the institution, because I'm saying something. I'm proclaiming that this institution is something great, but I'm not acting like that. And so that's what a lot of these people are doing. They're telling you it's the greatest thing in the world, that God saved them, and I'm right by this. But every other month, John Gray is doing something he shouldn't be doing. Paula White has done stuff that she shouldn't be doing. All of them. So they get, and I'm not saying that people should be perfect, but I expect my religious leaders to be better than me from a moral standpoint, right? If I can be faithful to my wife, I don't understand why they can't. And I live in Atlanta. Those of you who know Atlanta and you're a man in Atlanta, black man in Atlanta, I'm faithful to my wife. So if I can be faithful, I don't understand why they can't be faithful, right? So so we're going with that. One of the things I say, so a couple of weeks I posted something on social media on Facebook about hell. Interesting. One of the people who, and her and I are good friends, went to college together, so we've been on each other, the better part of 30 years. But she's a devout Christian. So she came on and obviously had stuff to say against what I said about hell and basically hell not being real or whatever. And guess who checked her? Guess who corrected her about hell? Another believer. I
Wow.
ain't said a word. Another believer came on and explained to her how hell was not real. This was another
Wow.
believer who was has been in seminary school in the whole 9 yards. So he checked her about the whole concept of the biblical hell and heaven. And all she could say was, okay, all right. And so I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so let's see. Stephen, I'm a CNA volunteer in a nursing home or a children's cancer ward for a couple of months. Then tell me how loving is. Man, you don't even want to get me started. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started with
And a
that.
lot of the problems that many are afflicted with came from the devils who are poisoning water, poisoning the food, poisoning the air, poisoning clothes. Like there's actually lead in clothes. Like one thing
Mm-hmm.
I looked at was these clothes that the Instagram influencers, promote. It's lead in those clothes. So yeah, a lot of these ailments and afflictions come from the devils, and this God hasn't stepped in to divinely cure anything.
We are more moral than this God. My wife and I was driving somewhere recently, and I was telling her, I said, listen, I said, honey, you know what? I said, if I was God, the God that people believe in, some things would be just automatic. Like no child would get sick and die. I would at least give people X amount of years where they're good. Like I can't, I wouldn't as a God, how can I watch a 3-year old, a 6-year old, a 10-year old suffer through cancer and other ailments like that and die and watch the reaction of the parents and what they've lost, right? And then call myself a loving God who loves you more than you love yourself, love you unconditional. I don't get that. Famine, there wouldn't be no such thing as famine. Everybody would have at least a place to live and food to eat. And so I look at, I say, I guess we would be more moral than this God is. And so then you get the whole excuse, well, his way is not our way. That's you almost made me cuss. That's BS, right? That is bull. That is just an apologetic excuse from Christians, talking points that they spit out because they hear it and it sounds good. So yeah, absolutely. Beige Price. I don't know who that Price is in the faith movement, but I promise I am no relations. You're right. There you go. Let me go back up. Eric said something. I continue to look at this situation in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Ethiopia, and all other places, and I would never condemn those who have perished to a hell. I mean, they spent their whole life in a literal hell already. And and it's not their fault, right? You're born into this situation. Other outside external forces cause this situation that you're in, right? Number one, this so-called God that many of them believe in, whether it be Allah God, is not helping, it's not stepping in, right? And then you're gonna die because maybe you're not a believer or you chose to stop believing because of your condition, which makes a whole lot of sense because of your situation. But now you're gonna burn eternally in hell. What? That's what kind of
Make it
God
make
is that?
sense.
What kind of God is that? I'm giving you hell twice, right? I'm giving you hell twice. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm with you with that. I don't. And so again, this is part of the critical thinking process, and I wish that more of us, and more of us are the younger ones. We are on this path. We are questioning things. And so for those younger people, they're questioning things. And unlike us, when they don't get the answer, they just pull up the phone and go to Google, right? Or they go to YouTube, or they get the answer, or they get an answer, or they find what they're looking for. People my generation, we didn't have that. And so I'm frustrated that now that we have the resources, that we still refuse to get to use them. I know we're comfortable. I know it's easy to continue to believe. Well, it really wasn't easy for me to continue to believe because there was so many times where in my life things happened, and I cried out to God or prayed out to God for God to intervene, and it didn't happen, right? And so I began to get frustrated. So it really wasn't hurt, but I'm like, on the one hand, the church tell me, go pray to God. He's gonna be the answer to all your problems. He'll never forsake you. He'll never leave you. He'll never give you more than you can handle, so forth and so on. What does that even mean? I had a good friend from high school who was suffering through some stuff, right? And he was in the military, in the Navy, came home. He got out of the military, was married, has a bunch of issues. I went home to see my mom. This is before she passed. And my mom was like, well, you need to talk to your friend because I think something's going on with him. Had a quick conversation before I came back to Atlanta with him, and I can tell that something wasn't right. And even my wife was like, something's not right with him. So I told him, I said, listen, I said, man, I'm going to reach out to you again. I mean, let me get home, and we're going to reach out, and we're going to, talk. And so that made me think about, God not giving you more than you can handle. A few weeks later, it was Easter. He committed suicide. And I thought, I said, it's that evidently he had more than he could handle, and God then intervene, and he didn't reach out to enough people or wasn't willing to be open about it to where people could help him, or maybe the people around him didn't know how to help him or didn't help him. But any way you look at it, he was dealing with more than he could handle, because that's why people commit suicide, because they feel like they're in this hopeless space. So that was one of those things. And this guy, we've been friends since maybe 12 years old. We were Boy Scout together, went to high school together, stayed in touch. Our parents knew each other, the whole 9 yards.
That's one
So
thing
we're saying.
that's kind of wild. And I know of someone who's close to me. They probably they're not watching this video, but if they are, they just went through a situation that was a result of some bad decisions.
Mhm.
And once they kind of sort of came somewhat out of that decision, the person they went to for help, the first thing that they did was take them to church.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
I didn't say nothing because I'm like, they've been through hell. But,
Hmm.
I'm just kind of to myself like, that's not a solution. That's a temporary feel good, but it's also like a hey, get your life together. This is God, trying to pull you close or whatever. I'm like, no, it's not. It's they made some poor decisions, but also too, those around have failed because there was some warning signs, that something was going on, yet accountability, and as someone mentioned, fear and guilt, you know, not holding yourself accountable to the decisions that you made. Now you feel, you're guilty, your guilt trip to try to win back God's favor and everything's going to go right. But once you get out of this situation, oh, God did it. God brought me forth. But it's like, no, it's actual people with resources around you that did this. So it's a real tricky situation. It'll just have you going in circles. It's a sick cycle.
Hmm.
And for the generations that are out now, they don't want your dopamine feel goods,
Hmm.
although, many of them are going through escapism with recreational, things and stuff like that, but they have real problems and need real tangible solutions. And sitting in someone's church and praying and posting Jesus memes on Facebook is not gonna cut it.
No, not at all. And so that goes back to the whole fear and guilt thing with the whole with hell that keeps you there. The fact that you think that you need this God, and this God is somehow giving you emotional support or meeting your needs, when actually is you or the people around you, or is the fact that you just didn't give up and you went through it, because we all go through stuff. If you don't, like my buddy, if you don't end it all, then you will eventually come out on the other side. It might not be the way you want, it might not be the same time you want, but you can do that without God. You're going to come out on the other side. Let me get some of these other comments before we close up here, wrap up here. Let's see. Eric said, his sister is right. I work in that field. Lead is in the spices, cookware, and certain cosmetics as well. Turmeric spices and lipsticks from underdeveloped countries have extremely high levels of PB. Absolutely. And this so-called God that loves us more than anything else is not doing anything to the people who can't. Since what you can say that this is man-made and we're doing it to ourselves, and some of the stuff it is, but there are a lot of innocent people who have no other option, who are at the mercy of others. And so why won't God step in for those people? Why won't he step in for the people who can't do for themselves, who can't help themselves? You know what I'm saying? So that, again, it's questions that we ask. Bayes Price said, I'm glad I wasn't worried about hell, but it grieves me to see people too terrified of it when they stop believing. Hardest thing to recover from. Yeah, I think those of us, and I think Stephen mentioned it as well, that wasn't an issue for him, but it's an issue for so many people. I mean, people are terrified of this hell. And you talk to them, in forums or different groups, different spaces, and when they talk about, well, I got questions, but yeah, I don't want God to. And so this is you. This is your loving Father. You're afraid to question Him because He's going to send you to eternal hell burning. How asinine is that? You're afraid of your all loving Father. You're afraid to question things because in your mind, the mind that He so called created you with, has questions about some legitimate questions. But you're so afraid to ask those questions because he has threatened you with burning in eternal hell. Makes no sense. As Taisha said, make it make sense, right? Appreciate it, Eric. Sorry about your buddy. Yeah, he was a good dude too, man. Appreciate that. Let's see. Base is heartbreaking. Who's this? Shady Trotman. Did I pronounce it? Is it Sade or I hope it's Sade? I hope it's not Shady. If it's Shady, I'm sorry if it's not Shady. So it might be Sade. I'm sorry. Trotman, if you were prepared for life and you didn't ask for it, then you will be prepared for the afterlife and you didn't ask for it. Not sure what you mean by that, but okay. And maybe I'm getting slow because it's getting late. Beige Price. I suppose if one thinks that God will torture his own son, how much worse can he do others so much loving? You're right, right? If he's gonna send his own son to go through, all that torture in hell and to die. Again, this is just about thinking. This is about thinking. What loving person would do that? Especially when you don't have to. You're God. Anything that you want to happen, you can snap a finger. Why is all this necessary? Why is all this pain and torture and all these atrocities and this agony? Why is it necessary? What's the point of it? What's the purpose of it? I think about the whole Job story in the Bible. Like, I think it's like the worst freaking story ever. Job loses everything, and
That is
his
sick.
wife. I mean, it's just a sick. All for, like I said this on social media one day. I said God did all this so he could win a bet with Satan. This was all about a bet, right? I mean, how that is just asinine. Again, the whole thought process, and I'm not being as critical on believers because there was a time that I was deeply into it, not as deep as some people, but these were questions that I wouldn't ask or that I wouldn't seek the answers to, or even if I heard the answers, they kind of went over my head. I kind of ignored them. So I do understand it from that standpoint. But we have too many resources today. If you have questions about it, and you should, we all should have questions about anything that we are a part of. If we don't completely understand it or fully understand it, we all should have questions. And there is so many things about Christianity, religion, any religion, faith that many of us don't understand. That there is so many things, so many things. And so we should be able to ask those questions and look for the answers and let it lead us. And we shouldn't be afraid to trust what we read or the conclusions that we come to based on our research and knowledge. You can't say, well, that's man-made or human. You can't believe that. You trust human beings for every aspect of your life. This computer that we're on, your cell phone, your car, your food, everything. So when the information is out there based on the research that people who are in this field and been in this field forever and ever, who in some cases, a lot of these historians and scientists are believers themselves. So they have a dog in the fight if they can prove these points to be true. But even they have said, a lot of them have said, this stuff doesn't make any sense. This stuff is not real. This stuff never happened. Trust me, if they could prove the other way, then they definitely would because it would benefit them. So we need to really think about that. Let me get to these last comments before we go. Where do we stop at? So right didn't have to Beige Price. You're right. Thank you, Beige. Neo X. I had a temporary psychosis breakdown, believing in hell in my late 20s. Going through that was tough.
I can
Absolutely,
relate.
Neo.
I can relate.
I definitely believe you. I've seen it. Absolutely, Neo. It's a lot more serious than people believe it is. And when breaking away, that's the thing. That's kind of like their I have nothing else. So I got you with this. This is their one thing today. That's why it starts so early. Because if you can get over every other thing, every other hurdle, that whole hurdle of going to hell, that's the final straw. You can't beat that because that's eternal. That's after you die. That's forever, right? That's what we're believed to believe. I mean, we're taught to believe. So that's a powerful. That is powerful for us. And so glad that you were able to get over it, Neo. So you are an example of people who go through it and get over it. So absolutely. So you keep doing what you're doing because you have a story for those people who are trying to deconvert or have questions. they can learn a lot from you. So absolutely keep on, keep on. Eric, and if you read Job 42, it was God who did all of the evil to Job. But you're right. I don't mock others like that because I was there heavy. You're
There's
right. Yeah,
so much
God did all this
compassion.
stuff. All this stuff did. He did all this stuff to Job. Kill all his animals. What did the animals do? Kill all his kids, right? Gave him all kind of diseases, and, and
Dirty.
and then people have literally argued with me and said, "Yeah, but God replaced it." I said, "Let me ask you a question." I said,
Mm-mm.
"Is your child replaceable?
No.
Is your
And you
mother
know what?
replaceable?"
That is what is the problem with our community right now when we have the race soldiers target our children, stuff like that. It's like, well, God and Job, and then here comes the preacher that comes, the reverend. I'm pretty sure that they're going to preach that to Job, and
Mhm.
just shut up and let's sue the city's insurance, and it's stupid. I tell you what, my last name ain't Essex for no reason, okay?
Yeah.
The blood of Mark Essex, the DNA runs through all of us. So yeah, mess with me and mine. You might as well mess with me because mine, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That my wife is not replaceable. My sister is not replaceable. My niece and nephew are not replaceable. My mother is not replaceable. You can't. I mean, what I mean that is the most asinine argument for the Job story, and people, believers, make that argument all the time, like they really score some points. I said, "Are you serious? Do you really?" That shows you, first of all, the kind of mental gymnastics that they have to do to make this stuff make sense. But it also shows you the level of illness that religion, and in particular Christianity, where I'm from, does
Mhm.
to a person. I mean, that's mental
Yes.
illness for you to justify this by saying, "Oh, well, he replaced him,
I was
removed him."
actually looking to trademark this term, but I see somebody already has it. But
Mhm.
I'll put it out there because I'm not pursuing it or nothing. But there's a term I thought I was the only one who thought of it, but I called it Christ insanity. Christ insanity. But someone already owns that trademark for it. But I'm like, it's Christ insanity. When you look at stupid stuff like that, like you are
Mhm. Mhm.
insane.
Yeah. Yeah, Nino. Neo. I'm sorry, I say Nino. That's my dog name. Neo. People are sending shouts out to you, telling you. You can read the comments, but absolutely everything they say, I second it all. Sorry you had to go through that. Glad that you survived and got out of that. But you got a story that's really gonna help some people. Steven said glad that you survived. They said cruel mind control, Neo. Let's see. We'll finish up. Christina, greetings. How you doing? We'll catch the replay. I know it's good. Yeah, absolutely. Taisha made it wonderful. Whenever she joins us, it's going to be good. So absolutely catch the replay. Sharon said again for the people in the way back. I'll let them watch the replay so they can hear it as many times as they need to hear it. So
Touch your
Bay said
neighbor and say,
hello.
neighbor.
Yeah, right, right. So again, we will wrap this up, but I appreciate all of you. Let me make a couple of announcements, kind of housekeeping stuff. We're gonna move to every other Thursday. So the next one would be not next Thursday, but Thursday after next.
On
And we're gonna
Thursdays, not Wednesday
not
nights.
Wednesdays. It's gonna
Okay,
be
Thursdays.
Thursdays
Okay.
at
Thursday. I'm writing
six
that in the
o'clock.
chat.
Yeah, it's gonna be Thursday at 6 o'clock. Because of my school schedule. So Thursdays every other Thursday at 6 o'clock.
Tell these people the truth. You really gonna be at Bible study.
I'm
We ain't
gonna be
stunning
at
you.
Bible study because that's Wednesday night now. I got Bible study,
We
right?
ain't stunning you. It's coming up on the end of the year with all the holidays
Yeah.
coming up. So you're
So
going to
I got
church.
and I
We
got all
see
this
you.
information that I'm learning that I'm gonna be sharing with you guys.
Pastor
We talked
Willie
about
Cartwright
we talked about heat, religion, and
and
race in
First Lady
America.
Salima.
Now, Salim was no first lady for her, but yeah, but we're gonna be sharing all this information with you guys that I'm learning too because it really is it's a lot of stuff out there. So again, glad to have you. Peace to all. Eric, I appreciate you guys joining, man. Hope you guys got some out of it. Send us any kind of suggestions that you guys may have of a story or show that you want to see.
Make
We'll
sure your
definitely do that.
notifications are on.
Yeah, make sure your notifications, my notifications, all our notifications. Oh yeah, you guys notifications are on. Yeah, please do that. Glad to have you here. This is family. Hopefully you learned something today, something you can take back. Tell people about both our channels, myself and Taisha. There's a lot of information. Also, share Neo X's channel as well. This is a community, yeah. We growing this thing. We're getting people to use their brains for something other than wearing a hat. We want them to think. We want them to think critically about what they believe and why they believe. This is a movement. There are a lot of us out there. We just need to connect as a family. And so that's how I leave you. I think that is it for me. Taisha?
That's all I have. It's great to be here with like minds and speaking things, out loud that go on in my mind and bounce around and actually make sense. And when I criticize, so I look forward to this every week. So I'm excited.
Yep. Enjoy the rest of the week. Those I don't celebrate holidays, but those of you who are off work or whatever you're gonna do, enjoy the weekend. It's just another day to me, but those of you who are off work, enjoy.
Enjoy that
So
paid holiday.
enjoy that paid holiday. So we'll see
That
you in
paid
2
holiday.
weeks. 2
That's
weeks. Did you
holiday.
said holiday?
The paid holiday. Yes.
So enjoy it. All right. We will talk to you guys later.